Hello and welcome to Kathy's Corner. My name is Kathy Holt. I'm a partner and trainer with Stewardship Resources, LLC. Today I'd like to talk to you about the importance of the chart of accounts. I have talked to many members of church finance teams that are frustrated because they aren't getting the information that they need when making the financial decisions of the church. So one of the first steps to addressing this issue is to talk about their chart of accounts. And that is because the foundation of every accounting setup is the chart of accounts. So if it is so important, what is the chart of accounts? So I'm going to show you. Let me share my screen here. So the chart of accounts is the list of items that's used to tell the story of every financial transaction. And the information appearing on the financial reports, which is the information the finance team is getting, will be a summary of all the transactions that were coded to each chart of account item. If they have a well-designed and correctly used chart of accounts, it will produce reports that show a clear picture of the financial condition of the church, as well as the types of income received and how that income was spent. So there are several groups of chart of account items within the chart of accounts, and they are the asset items, liability items, equity items, income items, and expense items. Now in PowerChurch, there are a couple other groups of items. There are the release accounts and the transfer accounts. I'm not going to go over those today because most of the churches that I work with choose not to use those items. So we're not going to take the time to go over those today. So the ones we are going to go over are the items that show up on the balance sheet. So one of those items would be your asset items. That's pretty much anything the church owns, such as bank accounts, investment accounts, fixed asset accounts, such as your building lands and maybe your equipment. Another group of accounts is your liabilities. That's pretty much anything the church owes. So for most churches, that would include payroll taxes that haven't been spent yet. If the church has a mortgage or another type of loan, that would also be included in your liability group of accounts. There's the equity group of accounts. Now, this section is really exciting for churches because you get to set up multiple equity accounts. And this means that you're able to track the balances of your restricted and your designated funds. And the reason this works is because every income account and every expense account, you get to choose what equity account is affected by those transactions to those incomes and those expense accounts, which means the program will track the balances of all of your designated and restricted funds, and you can get rid of any of those manual Excel spreadsheets or other manual ways that you've been having to track those up until now. So we're going to move on to items that would show up on the income and expense statement. Again, this is a report that the finance team would be getting. So on this report, it's going to show your incomes. Now, churches have more than one kind of income. They have unrestricted income, such as tithes and offerings, that can be spent any way the church would like it to be spent. Then you have restricted income that comes in. So if somebody writes you a check, for example, for missions, you're required to spend it only for missions. If somebody writes you a check for the youth trips fund, then you're required to spend it only for the youth trips. So that's your income. So let's move on down to the expense section. And just like you had more than one kind of income, you also have more than one kind of expense. So you have your list of expenses that you use to spend your unrestricted income. So this is generally the budget of the church. So this would include like your payroll, your admin costs, your building costs. You'll probably also have some ministry expenses that you're using that unrestricted income to spend. Now, if you've got restricted income, then you can also set up restricted expense lines that are going to tell the story of how you spent that restricted income. So we've got a restricted income for missions. We have a restricted expense for missions. We have a restricted youth trips fund income. We have an expense for youth trips fund. There is not one chart of accounts that's going to work for every church. Each church needs to have its own list of chart of accounts that's going to tell the story of that church and give the information to the finance team that that finance team needs. Now, if you're interested in learning more about planning the chart of accounts, check out some helpful resources that are shown in the links below. And it has been a pleasure sharing this information with you today. And as always, if you have any questions or need help with any of this, you are more than welcome to give me a call at the number shown below, or my email address is also shown below. So please like, subscribe, and share this video. And until next time, God bless you and have a fantastic day.